0, and we were going to come out on top.
And now we start off in the second half. You guys get the ball first, get stopped. Adrian scores. Same thing happens. You guys get stopped. Adrian scores. At this point, it's 21-14. Did you feel like the momentum was really starting to swing in favor of Adrian at that point?
Yeah, anytime that happens, I mean, the momentum's going to swing back, but I think our guys did a nice job of pulling the momentum back in our favor as soon as we could. You would like it to swing back in our favor a little earlier if we could have answered either of those scores a little bit quicker. But you know, the bottom line is we were able to get it done.
Now, 3 minutes, 17 seconds left in the game. We're going to jump ahead a little bit here. 78 yards to go for a touchdown. You guys need 7 to win. Talk us through that series a little bit, because that was such a big series. It reminded me a lot of last year's Grove City game at home.
Yeah, it was a huge series, and you know, one thing that a lot of people forget about is that, you know, the key third down that you had on your highlights, and that was you know, the pass interference call. I mean, that was bigger than a lot of other third down conversions. But then you know, a couple of nice you know, swing passes out of the backfield, and everybody keeping their composures, and a good job managing the clock by everybody, and we got in the end zone.
Now, one person I want to talk about is your quarterback, Kevin France. He a couple early turnovers, but really showed a lot of poise, something that I'm sure you'd like to see from one of your young players. How impressed were you with his performance throughout the game?
Oh, his performance was steady. You know, almost the entire game. You know, there were highs and lows, and you know, and statistically, he had a nice game. But you know, as I've always said, I mean, statistics are just part of it. You know, there's still many things that he needs to improve on.
Now, we start the overtime off, and now as a coach, Coach Fusco and I talked a little bit about this during the broadcast. As a coach, when you go out there for the coin flip, what do you want to do? You want to get the ball first, or do you want to play defense? Because
you always want to play defense.
Always want to play D.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In any game, I mean, you know, you want to play defense first, whether you know, it's overtime or at the start of the game. I shouldn't say anyone. I mean, you know, Jeff Hand, I know it does.
Now, in that first overtime, you guys did get the ball first. You went down, got the field goal, and then they turned around and get the ball. And a couple plays, I mean, they were right down on the 3-yard line. But your defense came up with another big goal line stand. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was big. I mean, they got down to it was at the 3-yard line. I thought I was even closer than that. And you know, and I thought at that point our guys were going to rise to the occasion, as they did. I was a little surprised when they, you know, tried to spread us out, and I thought they would just try to, you know, cram it in there. But you know, as close as they were, but our guys came up with a key stop.
And then in double overtime, you guys, they missed a field goal, and then your freshman kicker, Fred Romeo, came on. And I know they weren't Chris Castillo field goals, you know, the 40-plus yarders we were used to seeing from him last year, but those were 3 really big pressure kicks, the 2 field goals and the extra point. Talk a little bit about him and how he performed under that pressure. Oh,
no, I think we did a nice job as a team putting him in position to be successful as a freshman, and you know, and he executed to the nth degree, and you know, we're really proud of that. You know, early on in the first quarter, we could have tried I think it would have been about a Chris Castillo 42-yarder, but we chose to go for it on that 4th down, and fortunately we got it. You know, and at that point, you know, we didn't want to put him in that position. But later in the game, you know, he came through.
All right, well, we're going to talk with Coach Hand a little bit later in the show, but right now we're going to take a short break and be back with Teresa's Pack Report right after this on Coach's Corner.
Heading towards feeling great? We'll help you get there at Lawrence County Chiropractic. You'll get the best care possible since we use the latest in technology and equipment to get you on the road to recovery. You can also take advantage of the massage therapist on staff. So stop by or call for an appointment at Lawrence County Chiropractic today. Walk-ins are welcome and most insurances are accepted. Lawrence County Chiropractic in Newcastle's Giant Eagle Plaza on Route 422.
Sooner or later, it's going to happen to you. You arrive home late. There's your starving family asking, what's to eat? And you have nothing ready. That's when Augustine's Frozen Pizzas can come to the rescue. 6 varieties of ready-to-bake favorites made right here in Newcastle. The smells of roasted garlic and fresh mozzarella will soon be coming from your oven. The solution to your next food crisis is right in your local grocery aisle. Augustine's Frozen Pizza. Freeze it today, bake it for a snack or a meal tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Tanya Flynn Worminski at Flynn's Tire and Service Center. With gas prices going sky high, I have a great money-saving tip for you. Make sure your tires are properly inflated. That will save you up to 3% in gas mileage. You can stop into any Flynn's Tire and Service Center like the one on Wilmington Road in Newcastle, and we'll do that for you for free. You can also check us out on flynnstire.com, our website, for some more money-saving tips.
Welcome back to Coach's Corner Sports fans. I'm Therese Marslak, here to bring you your Week 3 edition of the Pack Report. As usual, we will start out by diving into the overall standings as of this past weekend. Well, we see a change this week because the Thomas More Saints are no longer on top. Right now, the Washington and Jefferson Presidents are leading with 3 wins and 1 loss. There's a tie for second place with Thomas More and Bethany Colleges both having 2 wins and 1 loss. In third place is Teal College. Coming in at 4th is Westminster after their victory over Adrian. At 5th place is Waynesburg, and still with no wins is Grove City College in last place. Now let's take a look at what happened around the pack this past week. First, we'll start out with Washington and Jefferson Presidents. The Presidents headed down to Oberlin College this week to come out on top with a score of 33-13. The Presidents got an early lead in the game when they posted their first 2 scores on consecutive plays. Running back Ryan Mendel ran 47 yards for the first score. Mendel also rushed for a career best 192 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then after an Oberlin punt, quarterback Bobby Swallow and tight end Peter Briggs connected for their second score of the game. Swallow also threw a second touchdown to wide receiver Tom McCafferty. Defensively, Dan Brodlin led the Presidents with 9 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. W&J were able to hold R.V. Carroll, the 6th leading rusher in the nation, to only 26 yards on 12 carries. They also held Oberlin to 257 yards compared to their 456 yards in the win. Moving on, let's take a look at how the Teal Tomcats did this week. The 2005 Pac champs headed down to Thomas More for their first conference game of the season. The Tomcats fell behind in the first half 14-0, but were able to make up for it when junior defensive end Robert Hughes blocked a punt and returned it for 25 yards for a touchdown with 20 seconds remaining in the first half. With less than 3 minutes left in the game, the Tomcats were able to put together 12 plays for 55 yards and a 6-yard touchdown pass from QB Blankenship to Mark Lascola in the last 19 seconds. The extra point by kicker Sammy Cole sent the game into overtime. Then Cole put up 3 more points in a 27-yard field goal in the first possession in overtime. On the Thomas More end of things, the Saints were just not able to answer Teal's 17 points, losing their first game of this season. Running back Lawrence Colbert led the Saints offense with 70 yards on 22 carries. Thomas More controlled most of the game, holding Teal to 84 yards on offense before the final 2 drives of the game. Defensively, linebacker Mark Carlisle finished with 8 tackles and 1 interception. In the end, the Saints just couldn't come back. Final score, Thomas More 14, Teal 17. Next, we will look at the Grove City versus Waynesburg game. Grove City was still not able to pick up their first win of the season when they headed down to Waynesburg for a conference matchup. Offensively, Matt Wheel ran for 120 yards on 18 carries. Freshman Matt Weaver carried the ball 5 times for 56 yards and had 4 catches for 45 yards. Scott Fisher led the offense with 5 catches and 63 yards, and Jay Yanek had his first collegiate touchdown in the loss. Defensively, Justin Fowler led the team with 9 tackles and a blocked kick, which takes him to 4 for the season, while Chris Schwamenberger intercepted a pass. Although the Wolverines had a season high of 373 yards on offense, they were just not able to keep up with Waynesburg. Waynesburg's senior running back Ryan Abels became the all-time leading rusher in Waynesburg history after his 56-yard touchdown run in the 4th quarter. Abels rushed for 122 yards on 21 carries and marked 2 touchdowns. He now ranks first in the Waynesburg with 3,350 rushing yards. Eric Daniels also had a great day with 88 yards and 2 touchdowns on 15 carries. Daniels also hit the record books by becoming the 8th player in school history to accumulate over 2,000 yards. Defensively, Mike Zerwin led with 8 stops, 2 for losses, a sack, and a blocked kick. A great game for the Yellow Jackets. Final score, Grove City 18, Waynesburg 29. Now it's time to take a look at the offensive, defensive, and special teams players of the week. Starting out with the offensive player this week, it is awarded to senior running back from Waynesburg, Ryan Abels. Abels from Elizabeth Ford High School in Elizabeth, PA, became the all-time leading rusher for Waynesburg after clinching a game 56-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter. Abels had 122 yards on 21 carries and 2 touchdowns against the matchup against Grove City. He now has 3,350 yards, passing up the previous record of 3,297. Now let's take a look at the Defensive Player of the Week. This week it goes to junior defensive end from Teal, Robert Hughes. Hughes, who comes from Wayne High School in Youngstown, Ohio, blocked a punt and had a 25-yard return for a touchdown before the end of the first half in the overtime against Thomas Muir. Hughes sacked the QB Trevor Stelman, forcing the Saints to a 3rd and 25 situation. Hughes ended with a 10.5 tackle for the day. Last but not least, we have the Special Teams Player of the Week. This week, the honor goes to Westminster's kicker, Fred Romeo. From Poland Seminary High School in Poland, PA, Romeo completed on all 5 of his kicks for the win in double overtime against Adrian College. He was 3 for 3 in extra point kicks and 2 for 2 on field goal attempts, including the game-winning 21-yard kick in double overtime. Congratulations to all the players of the week. Once again, it is time to see who will make it in this week's Fantastic Five. I know the suspense is growing. Coming at number 5 is Teal's kicker, Sammy Cole. Cole made the extra point that sent the Tomcats in overtime. He also had a 27-yard kick in overtime to win the game for Teal. At number 4 is the defensive lineman from Grove City, Justin Fowler. He had 9 tackles and a blocked kick, which takes him to 4 blocks in the season thus far. The number 3 spot goes to running back from Westminster, Nick McCloskey. He sent the game into overtime with his 1-yard touchdown against Adrian College. He ended the day with 28 rushing yards on 10 carries and 8 catches for 82 yards. And at number 2 is Dan Broadland. The defensive lineman from W&J had 9 tackles, a forced fumble, and 2 sacks. And at number 1 is Waynesburg, Eric Daniels. Daniels had 15 carries for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. He became the 8th player in Waynesburg history to go over the 2,000 rushing yards. What a great Fantastic Five this week. Now let's take a look at the games coming up this week in the PAC. The Teal Tomcats will travel to Bethany to take on the Bison after they were off this last weekend. Thomas More will be taking the long journey to Waynesburg as the Yellow Jackets try to remain undefeated in the conference. And Westminster will travel to take on rival college Grove City as the Wolverines look to come out with their first win to the Titans since 1979. And WJ is off this weekend. And finally, for the NFL Pick'em Challenge. Well, it looks like Coach Hand and I are pretty close together, but he was able to nudge me out when he picked Cincinnati to win this past weekend. And yes, that's right, he did vote against the Steelers, and I think that should be a penalty of some kind. Where's the Pittsburgh pride? And Steve, well, I think he is a little embarrassed to turn in his standings because he has not yet. It's okay, Steve, don't be scared. You won't be made fun of. Well, at least not that bad. I'm not worried, though. I have a feeling I'll be on top next week. And here are the games to choose from for this week. Indianapolis versus the Jets, Cincinnati versus New England, Green Bay versus Philadelphia, Cleveland versus Oakland, Detroit versus St. Louis, and Dallas versus Tennessee. Well, that does it for this Week 3 edition of the PAC Report. I'm Therese Marszlak. Happy football season. More Coaches Corners coming up next.
All right, well, thanks, Therese, for that PAC Report. And don't worry, I'm just giving you and Coach a nice head start, and I'm going to make my charge late in the season. Don't you worry about that. Right now, I'm joined by senior linebacker Jason Fridley. And Jason, when we talk about this Adrian game last week, you guys, your defense came out with a lot of emotion, a lot of intensity, and you guys really set the tone early on the defense, especially after a couple early turnovers by the offense.
Right. I mean, we had the guys real fired up in the locker room before the game even started. We had talked about it all week, about how we need to come out fired up for the game, and how the biggest thing was, like, we had to protect our own turf. I mean, that's our stadium, and we pretty much came out and did that.
Now, you guys got off to a nice 14-0 lead, but then right before the half, they get a touchdown. Then in the second half, they get 2 more really quick scores. Now, at this point, you being one of the leaders of the defense, what did you say? What were you saying to the guys on the sideline, you know, right after that you guys went behind 21-14?
Right. I mean, the guys' heads were down. I mean, defensively, we had to step it up a notch. We had to come out like we had been. I mean, I told the guys, I mean, we're still in this game. We're only down 7 points, and our offense was moving the ball. I mean, making plays, same as defense.
Now, you guys, game goes into overtime, and in the first overtime, after the field goal by Romeo, you guys make another goal line stand. It seems like this is just something that is going to happen every week. Talk us through that series a little bit.
It was intense. I mean, Jordan Blinn went down, and it was on first and goal from the 3-yard line. We had freshman Brad Meehan in there. I mean, he came up and made some big plays, but just seeing Jordan laying down on the field, I mean, I told him personally that we were going to get a big defensive stand, and guys stepped up, made plays. I mean, on third and goal, I made it like it's just great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Certainly was a big stand, and now you guys, coming up, such an emotional win on Saturday. You being one of the leaders, how do you keep the guys, focused on the task at hand this week, which is Grove City?
right. Well, I mean, that all starts at practice. I mean, you got to do what you got to do in practice. You got to go full speed. You can't slack. I mean, there's guys that have labs and stuff. You have freshmen and sophomores filling in. I mean, they never know whenever their chance is going to come. I mean, they just got to be ready.
Now, obviously, this Grove City team is, one of the bigger rivals of Westminster. Now, you've been around for a few of these meetings. Is this the biggest game of the year for the Titans?
I mean, yes. Right now it is. I mean, we're coming into our first Pac conference play at Grove City. I mean, they're going to be up. They haven't won a game all year, and they're going to come in thinking that they're going to beat us. And we just got to come out like this past week against Adrian, fired up, and play football, play what we do.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Jason, thanks for joining us today, and good luck this week against Grove City.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take another short break, and we will be right back, talk with Coach Hand about this Grove City team right after this.
Wouldn't it be nice to take a trip to Mexico? The sun, the sand, and of course the food. Now, if you're like most people, you can't just go to Mexico. But the good news is that a taste of Mexico is right in your backyard. El Canelo has everything you need to have that authentic Mexican experience. Located on Wilmington Road, right across from the McDonald's, you can have a delicious meal all while relaxing to the sounds of Mexico. So go ahead, take a vacation. Visit El Canelo in Newcastle today.
Ice skating, what a great form of exercise and fun. And there's no better place than Hess Ice Rink in Newcastle. Interested in figure skating or hockey? Come in and be part of our Learn to Skate program, open to all ages and skill levels. Hess Ice Rink, the home of the Hess Hockey Association and the area's largest competitive figure skating team, open every day. Hess Ice Rink welcomes all ages to come and enjoy the excitement and sport of ice skating. Let Hess plan your next birthday party or occasion. Hess Ice Rink on Mitchell Road in Newcastle.
Why do dogs chase cars? It's the tires. We love them. And Tire Express loves tires as much as I do. Plus, Tire Express is the kind of place you can comfortably send your grandmother. Tire Express is great, with dependable tires at everyday low prices and honest service. And Tire Express is as fast as me, Chico. They get you in and out in a hurry. That's why Matt's been in the tire business for over 25 years. That's 175 in dog years. Tire Express, often copied, never equaled. When it comes to tires, they're the top dog.
Welcome back to Coach's Corner. We're once again joined by Coach Hand. And Coach Hand, coming up this weekend, we got a big game against Grove City and a pack opener for you guys. It almost seems like season number 2 is starting this weekend. Do things intensify in practice during the week when pack play opens up?
Well, they definitely need to. There's no doubt about it. And when conference play starts, I mean, there needs to be more of an intensity, more of a focus. And with it being Grove City, it is, to kick off the conference and at their place, intensity is slowly on the rise for sure.
Now, what has jumped out at you on film so far about this Grove City team?
The athletic. I mean, they're more athletic offensively than they have been. Defensively, they had lost a lot from last year's very solid defense that they had, but they're more athletic than what typically the Grove City team would be.
And they've got a little bit different style offense this year. We're used to seeing the wing tee from them, but they got a new freshman quarterback. Talk a little bit about what you've seen from their offense on film.
Yeah, offensively, they'll run some of their old plays, some of their old wing tee plays, but they'll also spread it around and throw the ball around. And the freshman quarterback's doing a real nice job, and definitely a little different style of Grove City team for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Now this Wolverine defense has given up 250 yards, just about 250 yards on the ground per game. Is this finally the week that the running game you think gets on track?
Well, I mean, I think that, believe it or not, I mean, statistics don't say everything, but we are getting better as far as running the football, and I believe that there's a lot of different ways to be able to run the football, and we're going to continue to get better offensively, and running game is definitely part of it.
Now, you've been around the Pac, obviously coaching at Waynesburg and now here at Westminster. You've seen a lot of the Pac rivalries. Is this Westminster-Grove City rivalry one of the better rivalries in the PAC, in your opinion?
No, it's a good rivalry. There's no doubt about it. It's a little more friendly of a rivalry in some ways than what I'm used to. Not as much what you might say is hatred, but the rivalry as far as wanting to win the game, as far as bragging rights, is still the same. But it's a little more friendly than maybe some of the others.
Would you say that this is the biggest rivalry Westminster has, or?
Oh yeah, I mean it's to me it's it's definitely bragging rights. And as far as 79 splitting us, and they have their name on the thing that in the northern part of the state, the Grove City outlets, and and they have their name on it. So
now, what do the Titans need to do this weekend to be successful in beat Grove City?
We need to come out strong again. I mean, I know that sounds old and that sounds like a cliche, but we have to come out strong, offensively and defensively. They have to know that we're out there and we're serious and we're for real. They haven't won a game in over a year, and if we come out strong and get them down, we're going to be able to put this team away if we do that.
Well, Titans 1-2 on the year, Grove City 0-3. We'll see if Titans can get win number 2 on the season. Coach Han, thanks for being here. Good luck against Grove City this weekend.
Thank you.
We will be back on Coach's Corner after this. Thanks for joining in on the Westminster Cable Network.
While covering the uprising, you can hear the bullet and his screams while his camera rolled. Indie media photographer Brad Wills was one of 3 people killed by local police in civilian clothes, according to a Reuters report that was not confirmed by U.S. or Mexican authorities. Incredibly, the State Department